The notification comes in at 11:47 p.m. while you're restocking shelf 14B. Wire received $2,300,000. You read it twice under the warehouse's white fluorescent lights. Your supervisor walks past and asks if you're almost done with the pallet. Almost, you say. You put the phone back in your vest pocket and finish the pallet. You are 29. You make $19 an hour scanning boxes for a logistics company. Nobody here knows you spent 4 years building a small software tool on the side, something that helps tiny e-commerce shops track returns. You built it in your apartment after shifts on a laptop with a cracked corner. 6 months ago, a company 3 times your size made an offer. Tonight, it closed. You drive home in the same Honda with the check engine light that's been on since March. You don't fix it tonight either. You let yourself into a 1-bedroom apartment that still has a futon instead of a couch. You sit on the edge of it. You don't call anyone. There is no one whose voice you want to hear more than the silence right now. That's the part nobody tells you about money. The first night, it doesn't feel like arrival. It feels like holding something too fragile to put down and too heavy to keep carrying alone. You go to work the next day. Same vest, same badge, same shift. Marcus, who's worked the dock with you for 3 years, asks if you're feeling okay. You look tired, he says. You tell him you didn't sleep well. That part's true. At least, you don't quit. Not yet. Quitting means questions. Questions mean explaining. So, for 6 more weeks, you clock in at 6 a.m. and scan boxes like a man worth $19 an hour, because that's exactly what everyone around you believes you're worth. The money sits in an account you check once a day, like checking on something sleeping. You don't touch it. You still buy the store brand coffee. You still split a pizza with Marcus on Fridays and let him cover the tip because you forgot your wallet. You didn't forget anything. You just didn't want the conversation that comes after a $40 tip on a $24 pizza. Your mother calls every Sunday at 7. She asks if you're eating. She asks if that supervisor is still riding you about your breaks. You tell her things are fine. Work is work. You don't tell her that work cleared $2 million into your checking account on a Tuesday. You tell yourself you're protecting her. The truth is, you don't know how to say the number out loud without it changing the way she looks at you. 6 weeks in, you finally quit. You tell your supervisor you got a better opportunity, something remote. He shakes your hand, says, "Good for you, kid." Marcus takes you out for one last shift and beer. He asks what the job is. You say boring stuff, operations, data, nothing exciting. He believes you because why wouldn't he? People don't expect the man in the same scuffed boots to be lying about being a millionaire. Nobody lies down. A week after you quit, you go to your bank to move some of the money into a different account. The teller, a young guy named Aaron, pulls up your balance and his eyes stop scrolling. He reads the screen twice. He sits up a little straighter. "Would you like to speak with someone from our private client team?" he asks. You say no, you're fine. You watch him decide right there in front of you that you're suddenly a different category of person than you were 30 seconds ago. You take your receipt. You drive home in the Honda with the check engine light still on, and somehow that drive feels like the only honest thing you did all week. You move into a slightly nicer apartment. Not nice, just slightly nicer. 2 bedrooms instead of 1. You tell your landlord you got a raise. He doesn't ask follow-up questions. Nobody ever does when the story is small enough to believe. Here's what you learn fast. The moment people find out, they stop seeing you and start seeing the number. You learned that secondhand watching your cousin Danny after he won 11 grand on a scratch ticket 2 years ago. Within a month, he had 4 new best friends and 1 ex-girlfriend who suddenly remembered she loved him. Within a year, the 11 grand was gone, and so were the friends. You watched it happen from a safe distance and promised yourself you'd never let anyone watch you up close. So you stay quiet. You keep the Honda, check engine light and all. You keep buying the store brand coffee. When people ask what you do now, you say consulting, kinda boring. And they nod and change the subject, exactly like you knew they would. There's a woman. Her name is Priya. You meet her at a coffee shop 3 blocks from your new apartment. She works as a physical therapist. She laughs at something stupid you say about oat milk, and you laugh back. And for 40 minutes, you forget you're sitting on $2 million. You start seeing her on weekends. She asks what you do. You give her the boring consulting answer. She doesn't push. 2 months in, she asks why you still drive a car with a check engine light on if consulting pays decent. It's a fair question. You tell her you've just never been a car person. It's not a lie, exactly. It's just not the whole truth, and you can feel the gap between those 2 things sitting at the table with you every time you see her after that. One night, she asks, half joking, if you're secretly broke or secretly hiding something. You laugh too quickly. She notices. She doesn't say anything else about it, but something in the air between you gets a half degree colder and you both pretend not to feel it. Your father had a heart scare in February. Small one. The doctor said, a warning more than an event. You drove 4 hours that night without telling anyone where you were going or why. You sat in the hospital hallway with your mother and your brother. Nobody mentioned money because nobody there knew there was money to mention. For one night, you were just a son in a hallway and it was the most normal you'd felt in months. Your brother, Eli is a contractor. Work's been slow. He mentions it over Thanksgiving. Not asking, just mentioning. The way people do when they're hoping you'll offer before they have to ask. You could pay off his truck loan without checking your balance. You don't. You slide him $200 for gas for driving down so much, and he takes it, grateful, no idea what you're sitting on. You drive home that night, replaying the moment you could have said something and didn't. A few weeks later, an old friend from high school, Jordan, messages you out of nowhere. Hey man, long time. You haven't talked in 3 years. The message is friendly, catching up, asking how you've been. And then, 4 texts in, it turns. He's starting something, a small business, just needs $8,000 to get it off the ground. He'll pay you back with interest. He wouldn't ask if it wasn't a sure thing. You stare at the message for a long time. You don't know if he knows about the money or if he's just asking everyone he knows. You tell him things are tight right now. You wish you could help. You feel sick saying it. You feel sicker imagining what happens if you don't. You almost tell Priya in March. You're sitting in her apartment and she's talking about wanting to go back to school for a doctorate, worried about the cost, and the words are right there in your mouth. I could just pay for it. I have it. I have more than enough. And you swallow them instead. Because the second she knows, she's not looking at you anymore. She's looking at the number standing behind you. You almost buy a car in April. A real one. You sit in the dealership and a salesman named Greg looks at your hoodie and your scuffed boots and decides who you are before you say a word. He's polite but distracted. Already glancing toward a man in a suit 2 rows over. You could write a check right there that would buy the lot. You don't. You leave without taking the test drive. Not because of the money, because for 1 second, you wanted Greg to see you differently, and the second that feeling showed up, you knew exactly what it would cost you to chase it. By summer, the account has grown. You put most of it into safe, boring index funds, because boring is the whole point now. You don't buy a house, you don't buy a watch, you buy a better pair of work boots, the kind that don't fall apart in 8 months, and that's the loudest purchase you make all year. In August, Priya brings it up again. Gentler this time. She says she's not asking about money. She's asking why there's a room in you she can't get into. You sit with that for a long time before you answer. You tell her the truth, not the number, not yet, just the shape of it. You tell her you built something, you sold it, and you've been scared of what happens to people once everyone knows what they're worth. She's quiet for a minute. Then she says the thing you didn't expect. I wasn't trying to get into your bank account. I was trying to get into you. You don't have a script for that, so you just sit there, and for once, the silence isn't protecting you from anything. It's just silence between 2 people. You tell her the number in October, quietly, at her kitchen table, the same way your father might have once admitted something he'd carried alone for years. She doesn't gasp. She doesn't ask for anything. She just asks if you're happier now than you were before you sold it. You think about it longer than you expect to. You say you don't know yet. She says that's a real answer, and you believe her. That same month, your mother calls on a day that isn't Sunday. That alone tells you something's wrong before she says a word. Her car broke down, the transmission, $1,100 she doesn't have. She's not asking. She's telling you, the way she always does, hoping you'll offer because she can't bring herself to ask outright. You could fix this with 1 transfer and never feel it. Instead, you tell her you'll send what you can. You send $400. She thanks you like it's everything. You sit afterward with your phone in your hand, hating how easy the rest would have been and how impossible it still felt to do it. You still haven't told Eli. Some nights you think you never will. That some doors, once you decide to keep them closed, are easier left that way. Other nights, you think about your father in that hospital hallway, not knowing what you were sitting on, and you wonder how much of love only works because nobody's counting. In November, Jordan messages one more time. Shorter this time. No catching up, no warmth. Just, guess you didn't want to help an old friend. You read it twice, you don't respond. You sit with the quiet kind of guilt that doesn't come from doing something wrong, but from being the only one who knows you could have. It's a Tuesday again, almost exactly a year after the wire came through. You're at the same warehouse, not working there, just picking up Marcus for lunch like you do most weeks now. He climbs into the Honda, check engine light still on, you never did get around to it, and asks how the consulting thing is going. Boring, you say. Same as always. He laughs and asks if you want to split a pizza Friday. You say yes, you mean it. You drive off with the light still glowing on the dash. $2 million sitting quietly behind a number only 3 people in the world know. And for the first time since the night the wire cleared, it doesn't feel like something you're carrying. It just feels like a Tuesday. The question that stays with you isn't whether you'll ever tell the rest of them. It's whether the version of you they'd meet after that, the rich one, the careful one, the one people start seeing instead of looking at, would still feel like you at all.